Podcast about what's new and awesome in 3D printing for gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param, and I'm joined by
Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery.
Kristen. I have been having some fun hobby stuff lately.
Yeah.
Uh, yes. I have been 3D printing texture rollers and wanting to get back into like the crafty side of things. And I'm wondering, like, what cool things can I 3D print to make crafting stuff with the foam and the clay and stuff even better. And there's like a whole mountain of really cool material out there and really cool greeblies, and cast and play is like invaluable for this, for
Which
sure.
they just launched their new campaign on.
I know it looks so good too. Like,
already backed
again,
it.
oh my
Super
gosh, I
hype.
haven't, only because I've been getting ready for the show, and I will back it immediately after the show. Like, their terrain work is just so good. Like,
It's so good. I can't believe they took it off of their Patreon. It hurts my heart.
I know that was such a good thing about their Patreon, such a good value to get. Like, honestly, for the like last little bit of their Patreon, like the last year I was a member of their Patreon, it was entirely to get the terrain stuff. And like, I
Absolutely.
considered the minis a bonus because like the minis were all great. Their minis are great. They're
Hmm.
super characterful, expressive. I love them to death. They print wonderfully. I've printed and painted dozens and dozens of them, but their terrain stuff was always awesome. And now there's all sorts of people doing all sorts of cool stuff with terrain. And Custom Play just launched their new Kickstarter, Terrain Essentials Exteriors,
Hmm.
and all I've seen a lot of that is like a bunch of ruin stuff.
Yeah, there's
But
3 different themes
uh
for it,
huh.
and that it is very like much like a, in my mind, scatter that would
Hmm.
really work for like OPR, Age of Sigmar.
Hmm.
It's going to obviously work for your D&D games too, and that's
Hmm.
tends to be what they focus on. But this felt very wargaming applicable
Hmm.
between the themes. I want to say there's like an undergroundy, dungeony like one, but it's like more like pieces of the walls. But the ruins one is awesome. I
Hmm.
really dig it. Way more affordable than like buying a bunch of Azurite ruins for your table.
Oh,
I have 2 box sets of Azurite, and like that was, yeah,
yeah.
so
I've got
much.
like a whole tables full of Azurite ruins
Yeah.
that came pre-painted.
Oh, did you buy it like on a steal?
Yeah, somebody was getting rid of the terrain collection,
Oh,
and I got
so
it for
good.
$200, and it shipped in like this giant box that was like half as tall as I was and twice as round as I was, and it was
Wow.
absolutely filled with painted terrain, and it
You get
basically
the
jump
best
started
deals, man.
like this cubicle thing behind me. It's like
Hmm.
3 by 4 cubicles, like with the little cloth drawers that are in them. This is not the IKEA version that has a name that people know that I don't know. This is the Walmart special
Ah, gotcha.
version of it. The and that is entirely filled with that terrain
Nice.
deal. So it's like 4 or 5 sets of Azurite ruins that had all been pre-painted to a very good standard,
Nice.
and
That's
then
some
like
work saved.
a bunch of Battlefield in a box, like a crap ton of other stuff. This really cool sets of terrain, a whole bunch of trees. Like, it was. I was not joking when I said it was a giant box filled with terrain stuff, and I got it for like $200 off Facebook Marketplace, and it's like one of the best deals I ever got. And
Very cool.
I'm super happy with it, and very much thankful for the person who sold it to me. This is almost as good as the time I got 18 boxes of Dwarven Forge for $150.
What? I don't think I've heard that story either. So
Sorry.
jealous. You've got like the bargain hookup. Heriberto is in chat and says saw the buildings and thought Frostgrave. Yeah.
Yes. Oh gosh, I really want to do a Frostgrave campaign with somebody so bad.
I wish you were closer, man. We'll just have to find some folks to play with, and
Oh.
and have Lady Hawk moments. We're not actually getting to play with each other.
No.
But we can go look at stuff together at Gen Con in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm really hyped for Gen Con. We talked about this last episode, but it's just a few weeks away.
Indeed.
And spoiler alert, the week of Gen Con, like one of those days, we might not have an episode. We'll see how that goes. Just a small, like when we do con travel, that does usually throw like monkey wrenches.
I am flying out like right after the show at this point.
Literally right after the show.
Well, no, but like that night, and red-eyeing in to be there Wednesday morning so that I can get an early start on the shenanigans.
Yeah, I rented my car, and because rental cars for big long road trips are usually a good idea, and it's like also stupid cheap. It's only like $400 for the week, and like that's really good price for
nice.
Yeah. My car's having car problems because it's reaching its end of life.
Less nice. Go on.
It's 16 years old now.
Oh, wow.
I bought it brand new. It now has 200,000 miles on it. And it has not had major engine problems yet, knock on wood. But it is starting to show signs that maybe it's time that it goes to the like nice little farm out in the field to play and frolic with the other Kias. And so that I should probably buy a new one. But
my little Scion's still hanging in there. It was 2008, so it's just like a year younger, but it's still hanging in there.
And I intend on hanging on to this little thing as much as possible. Because it's been a trooper. It's been a wonderful little trooper. But and also because like renting the Gen Con car is like less than a single car payment right now for for like because cars are stupid expensive right now if you were to try to buy one.
Yeah, I heard that it's because of the chip shortage or something, right?
Yeah, everybody has an excuse for why they've doubled their prices. So I don't buy any of that at face value anymore. I'm just like, CEO profit up 14,000%. Prices doubled. Wages down. I'm not sure these things are unrelated.
And Roberto also says, freaking Gen Con, every client wants their stuff now and suddenly. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Roberto.
The failure to plan should not constitute an emergency on your part, though. And I'm sorry you're having
charge them through the nose.
Yeah, Roberto. Rush fees. Charge them.
Yeah. Like, honestly, like, it's way too late. If you haven't got your Gen Con stuff done by now, y'all, it's a couple of weeks away. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
And of course, like I'm panicking over on the other side of things is because it's like it's going to be like an OPR launch that I won't be there for because I'll be at Gen Con and I'm having to trust my team.
I suspect you will plan well for it.
I hope so.
Otherwise, I also suspect you'll be on your laptop in the hotel room.
Roberto, surcharge, but 3D printer go vroom. Yes, 3D printer does go vroom.
Speaking of which,
we have some vroom to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So let's jump into some of the news items.
Okay.
Yeah. So people are finally getting a hold of the Elegoo Saturn 3 12K printers, and we're starting to see reviews in the wild of both the Ultra and the non-Ultra. The differences between the two seem to be negligible.
Okay.
So hey, if you like, the Ultra has like a better build plate leveling system. It uses the 4 bolts. It's got the ACF film so that you can do ultra fast printing if you want to. And the 12K non-Ultra has a normal NFEP, so FEP2. So the good stuff, the super durable stuff,
which is doing really well for me. By the way.
I love it because I finally put it on my printer when I switched out VATs. And it's been really great. So if you haven't been using, if you haven't upgraded to NFEP or FEP2, go ahead and do it because it's durable.
It's fantastic.
It releases a lot easier. It's like much more reliable printing with this stuff. So if you haven't upgraded, upgrade. It will last longer and print better.
See, Catlet says their Galaxy S1 is on the boat on the way. Nice.
Ooh. So here is the fun thing about the Elegoo. So this came out from a review video from Geek Detour, the channel Geek Detour, where they compared a few of the Saturns, both the O and Mars, basically all the way up from the 2K printers versus the 12K printers. Can you see a difference? And what they noticed is like they printed on a bunch of different printers, going up through the ages. It's like when you hit the sub 30 microns, the cool thing about these printers is we all call them like 12K, 8K, 4K. That is a meaningless number. It's not entirely meaningless, but on its own, it doesn't tell you much. Bigger number, better. But you also have to take you have to take in consideration the size of the printer itself. So a 10-inch printer like a Saturn at 12K or 8K is less detailed than a 6-inch printer at 8K. So like there's like the Photon 8K craziness that there's still the small build plate with an 8K screen on it, and so the details on that thing are just insane. Just crazy, because it's a 6-inch printer with an 8K screen, which is like in the sub 20 microns detail level. And
CCatlet's saying it's all about pixels per inch.
It's pixels per inch, which we describe in microns, which is like 0. It's like 0.01 is a micron. 0.01 millimeters is a micron. Or is it 0.001? I think it's 0.01. I
don't remember,
because 0.1 is
it's really small.
What FDM is capable of at the most detailed end is and 0.05 is what most printers default to, and layer height. But then you can go even smaller on the layer height, which makes your print times higher. But the key here is on the XY axis, the resolution of the screen. We measure them in microns, and 35 microns is the resolution of injection molding. Like that's as accurate as you can get with most. 0.01 is 100 micron. Okay.
Thank you for the
0.1 is 100 micron. So 10 microns is 0.01. Wonderful. And a single micron is 0.001 millimeters. Thank you, CCatlet. You have been wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being in the chat. Also, thank you, Roberto, for being in the chat, and everybody else who's watching the show. Lava Being saying 1,000 microns per millimeter. Thank you for saying it. So, the Saturn 12K is a 19 micron printer. So it is. So even at 10 inches, we're printing at 19 microns in one axis because it has elongated pixels.
Yeah, you mentioned those.
So I think it's the x-axis, it's 19 microns, and on the y-axis, it's 24 microns. But either way, we are well below 35 microns.
Right.
And so what is interesting is this video that I definitely recommend you watch. We'll put it in the show notes from Geek Detour. Is technically anything sub 30 microns is naked to the human eye. We can't, like, if you get a microscope or enhancements, you can see a difference. But at sub 30 microns, you look at it, you won't, like, at like a foot distance, or you're looking at a miniature, you will not see the pixels. And if you adjust the layer height to match your XY axis, you won't see layer lines. So like at sub 20 microns, print at 0.02 layer height to match your XY axis, and you're going to get some wonderful, wonderful, very, very nice minis that will take a little bit longer to print, about twice as long as your traditional miniature. But these printers now printing over twice as fast, so balances out.
Yeah.
But
pretty fantastic. But there's a but.
So the 8K printers were already capable of getting below that 30 macron.
Right.
And it's what people have been comparing stuff to, and it looks awesome, but you get that matte finish to stuff. And they noticed that when they were comparing the printer side by side, printing the same file at maximum detail, the models now look glossy.
Interesting.
The pixels are getting so small that even though you couldn't see the difference visibly with the naked eye, it still looked frosted, like if you were using a matte finish from your varnish on the Mini.
Yeah.
Whereas the naked curves and spheres is now so smooth on these 12K printers, they have a sheen.
Interesting. Does it, but it's not interfering with adhesion for primer, is it?
It shouldn't. No, that's the primer sticks to like we say that the 35 microns is the detail for injection molding, but those are still smoother because they're more rounded and generated through tooling instead of
Sure. They don't
pixel
have
by pixel.
layers
They're
or
not
anything with
voxel
that.
created.
Yeah.
So yeah, so glossy surfaces are natural on plastics and injection molding and stuff, and this stuff sticks to that stuff too. Also, stuff fresh out of your printer doesn't have mold release or any of that stuff that makes priming a pain in the butt. They're ready to go right off the bat. So primer will work perfectly on these just as fine. In fact, if they were in the video, you'll see that they did a magnified view of like some very very tiny Darth Vader statue, which was super glossy. And so next to the matte print from the 8K printer, and it was like it actually looks like it has less detail, even though it has more detail because of the texture is
Because
making
it's
it
so
pulling your
shiny.
eye and
Huh.
thinking it has. You think that the textured one is sharper details when it's actually less sharp details. And so what he did is he primed it, and the primer has more. The particles from the primer are larger than the pixels, so it actually added texture to the model that wasn't there.
Weird.
Yeah, so the models are now printing better than primer. The primer officially downgrades the quality of your model now.
Wow.
If with these new 12K printers. And that is glorious news. That
It's
means
glorious, but it means I'm going to have to use airbrushes on them probably. And
it doesn't matter what. It's the particle size of the acrylic. You're not going to get better primer on them. What this means is they're already as good as it can possibly get. And like we need to we can officially stop chasing smaller pixels now. It's like it doesn't matter if we go smaller. It doesn't matter if we make them even crazier. Technically, like in the video, he argues that if we can get down to sub 10 microns, we can start getting mirror finishes on these prints instead of just glossy.
Yeah. That has been my experience too. Zeke Atlas says white primer equals bad. Titanium dioxide pigments are huge, and that's true. They get chalky and clunky and stuff. So
which is
maybe
why
we can work on that technology next, huh?
Which is why if I'm going to do a white miniature, I prime black or gray, and then I airbrush the white onto it.
Yeah.
And I've been using the Pro Acryl primer, not primer, the Pro Acryl white paint has been glorious for that. Because
I've been
the cheap white primers can sometimes chalk it up.
Yeah, well, with going more in the direction of slap chop, I've been mostly just dry brushing a little white on at the end. So, however, I don't know if you saw in the news that a while back there was that new paint Vanta Black introduced,
right?
Like a while back.
The paint we can't use because what's his face?
Yes,
jerk wad took it.
But they also just discovered ultra white. So apparently now there is a super pigmented white with like really really high reflectiveness, and I'm curious to see if that will come down to us in mini painting, because it is like glowing bright. It is amazing.
At that point, I don't want glowing bright because that takes all the detail out of the model.
But for energy effects, like you could put that on there and then just do a little teeny color shade on it. It would look so cool. James just popped in. Hi, James.
Hey, James. Also, Berto says Miso Black looks unreal with an airbrush. I've seen there's lots of really cool videos out there from miniature painters using some of these, like Black 3.0, Miso Black, Vanta Black, all those. They're real fragile and real difficult to work with. So fair. And also, they're very costly. So if you're looking to get these things, definitely have fun with them. But these are a novelty and not a practical solution to a lot of problems. But I don't want to discourage any artist or painter in there from using them. Just be aware of what you're getting into. This is not going to work like your Vallejo coal black. It's not going to behave like that. It's going to behave significantly differently. Oh man, glowing absolutely bright. You can't see it white. So does it just look like a glowing white? Like details just disappear.
It's just amazing. Yeah, it's super bright, and actually is being used to cool down buildings because it's so bright. It increases the dispersion of UV.
Oh, Well, that's useful.
It's fantastic.
That has to be the most expensive.
I'm sure it's really expensive.
Outdoor whitewash I've ever seen.
Although it's cutting down air conditioning costs, which is also really bad for other things too. So like it might work out. Paint technology. Let's work on it.
And that's valuable to us because, unfortunately, we've learned that we have to for the best results in print. You have to climate control your printing room. Like you can shove the printer out in the garage and it'll work on the summers, but it's going to have a problem.
You're going to have a bad time during the winter. I have lived this story, and it was not fun.
Yeah. Nope. But there are options to this. There's solutions to this problem, Kristen. And all you have to do is open the checkbook.
Yeah, built-in enclosure.
Oh no! With a good enough printer, they have their own enclosures, their own heated vats. And I was like curious because one of the things that's happening lately is we are seeing a lot of the miniature industry and the game industry enter into the 3D printing space. So we've talked, of course, about War Games Atlantic has entered the printing space. Modifius has been here for a while. Titan Forge, of course, Puppets War. These are all like traditional Heroes Infinite, all traditional miniature manufacturers, small and large, that have entered the printing space. And then like Mantic Games entered the 3D printing space. In fact, it's really weird that they're on My Mini Factory now. It's just like weird seeing Mantic Games models on My Mini Factory. Didn't expect that to happen. Yeah, and of course, Privateer Press is doing their weird thing.
Quick note about Heroes Infinite. It is interesting. Their Raging Heroes stuff, which is their physical stuff, is all traditionally sculpted. So there is zero cross up between their old physical product and their new stuff, which made me really sad. But I had a big long chat about them. I was like, is there any chance? And they went, nah, it's not going to happen. But they are definitely revisiting the themes. So we're getting some overlap of similar models, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah. And 3D scanning is lagging behind. Like that 3D scanning tech is just not there to where you can accurately capture enough of a detail of a 3D model. There's lots of fun YouTube videos playing with this. Squidmar has a fun video where he got a really cool machine to do it. And like basically he does a copy of a copy of a copy situation to see how quickly it degrades. It's a fun video. But 3D scanning is not there yet. So right now, to get the best results with 3D printing, you really need to be a digital creator to get there. Yeah. So I was like, hey, if we're starting to see 3D printing in the hobby manufacturing, the 3D printing industry isn't the first industry to want to be involved. Or the gaming industry isn't the first industry to want to be involved in 3D printing. Industrial 3D printing and professional 3D printing has been around for a very long time. Like, I remember like watching old episodes of Beyond 2000 talking about 3D printers back when I was a wee little hobbit. And so I want to say, so what does the world of I've got all the money to burn compared to our hobby printers, what does that look like? If I've got all the money to burn. And so I was like, I went around and I looked at some of the industrial solutions for 3D printing to see what do you get when you are willing to add a zero to that price tag, or in some cases, several zeros,
as I say,
to that price tag.
Well, CCAT, let's just said the scanning tech's there, but it's $50,000. So.
Yeah, those atomic level scanners, like those are crazy. And so first place I went to look is probably one of the best companies for professional level 3D printing is Formlabs. There's some of the people that have pioneered a lot of the resin tech. And Formlabs themselves, their newest printers. Let's look at the Formlab 3B Plus.
Okay.
So what do you get with a Formlab 3D Plus? Well, first, it's mostly a lot of quality of life issues. You've got this big giant build plate that flexes itself and ejects the models.
That is so satisfying.
So that you never become contaminated with resin. And it's super important in the professional environment that you will never get that resin on you. And The printer has its own slicer, and if you look at here on the video, it uses a resin cartridge that you would put into the back of it that puts just enough resin into the printer to do the print, and then pulls out all the extra when it's done.
Nice. Yes, there's a lot of chat talking about the awe of that build plate being amazing.
Yeah, that build plate is wonderful. So also, when you buy one of these printers, you get a 1 hour personalized training with Formlabs themselves.
Ooh. We haven't said the price tag yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Because you have to buy these resin cartridges to work with this machine. And that's an advantage for this, is because they know the resin. They know the resin, okay?
Yeah.
So that they can tune this printer to be exactly, you just tell it which resin you're using, and it will be pre-made exactly, perform perfectly. Which, you give up the convenience of being able to use any resin you want. You have to use their resin, built on their resin cartridges, and it's expensive. Those cartridges are like over $100 a piece.
Oh, wow. Those do not look very big for $100.
I think they're 2 kg, so it's basically 2 bottles of resin and 1 cartridge, and the cheapest ones are $100.
Oh,
so this would be like $50 bottles of resin. So Tenacious technically more expensive, but not my
barely. And I don't print in just Tenacious, so.
Yeah. And you're starting to see like who they market this towards is like medical professionals, like dentists and such. And they also have like a really cool wash and cure machine that handles all this, so you never have to touch the print, so your team is never exposed. So also it's available also in Giant if you want to pay even more. Can you guess the price of the Formlabs 3B, where temperature is regulated, everything is automated, they know exactly what you're getting reliability, you're getting training, you're getting idiot-proofness.
I'm going to conservatively say like $3,000 or $4,000. How much is it?
It is $6,500.
$6,500
for a 3D
so yeah,
Plus.
I was way under. Yes. Okay.
And this might be the cheapest printer we look at in today's example of so $6,500 for that printer. And that is for the prosumer model,
the little one.
They will not tell me how much the dental model is, which will be more because medical grade stuff costs more.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but I'm not a dentist, therefore
even dental prints and implants can cost upwards of that price tag.
Small error in the price. It was actually $6,300.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's sign me up.
Yeah, it is craziness there. They also offer like a whole bunch of extra services that I think are cool. They have like, I could not get a list of these products, but they actually have a package of finishing products that have like little miniature sanders and stuff to turn these prints super, super great. And cure machines and all this sort of extra stuff, like super tuned just for that printer. But I can't get any info with this without talking with Formlab directly.
I'm sure you get the personalized training, and it's also a little bit of a sales pitch, I bet, for all the extras.
Of course. So that is probably the tip top of the resin printing right now.
Okay. Is there an FDM analog you have in your pocket?
Oh, yes, there sure enough is. Oh, absolutely.
Someone says they're waiting to see you 3D print your next car, by the way.
Oh, it could. There's somebody that did 3D print a Lamborghini, and it was glorious. There's a whole YouTube video on that. I don't have the links for it, but yeah, somebody did 3D print a car, and it works. It has all the features of everything.
C. Catlett, before we leave the Formlabs behind, did mention there's an automated print removal and washing. I did see that video. It's really cool.
That is so cool. We talked about that a few episodes back.
Yeah.
And that build, bless the Samaphage, that build plate, so sexy. Really is.
It really is.
I love that big old chunker build plate.
I could watch
leveling
that.
Involved.
You just squeeze those handles and it pops.
Ejects all the models. I love that so much. That's so great.
I'll be in my bunk. Anyway.
Yeah. Next up, what does the ultimate FDM printer look like? And I have to say, Ultimaker might have the might have the crown on this one with the Ultimaker Method XL 3D printing. It's got a 12-inch by 12-inch by 12.6-inch print surface. Okay. Which is really nice.
That's really
for our European friends, 305 times 305 times 320 millimeters. It is tuned for ABS printing, which is actually a very difficult thing to print because you have to print at high temperature, and also it has toxic fumes, so you have to have like an enclosure and extraction, and all that's built into this printer. It's got a temperature control, so the container itself is like the room itself is set to a certain temperature. The build plate is set to a certain temperature. It has a multi material. It is able to handle multi-materials. It has a side multi-material injector. It has support for the dissolvable supports, so that one of the material you'll print in as your support material dissolves in water, so you don't have any scars on the print. They come out perfect.
Nice. It's looking pretty fantastic. Yeah. Although C. Catlett says there might be a contender. I'm going to let you finish your summary, though.
I have several more printers to put up, and if you got some suggestions, I do want to see them. This thing is capable of printing nylon, ABS, PLA, like all the difficult stuff to print, including metal infused filaments, so that you can have those. You're able to swap out the tool heads automatically. They have like a whole selection of tool heads that can just be instantly swapped out for different extruder sizes or for specialty types of extruders, including the liquid resin extruders that then solidify the resin as if it. So basically, you're FDM printing with resin gel and solidifying it with a UV light on the print head.
So it's like a hybrid.
Yeah, integrated filters and extraction. It is absolutely one of the best. Print. Oh, it has a cleaning brush that cleans your nozzle automatically between layers.
Between layers?
Yeah. Wow. So basically, so that whenever that it needs to change the filament or just periodically to keep it from clogging up, there's like a little brush, and the print head moves over to that little brush and then brushes across it to get all the excess filament off of it, and then goes back to printing, so that you don't have like little resin strings or like bits of the old material where you're meant to be printing the new material, and so that you don't have to print the layer line to that waste extra materials when you're doing a material switch. It's got some glorious features, all for the very low price of $13,000 US.
Yikes.
And one of the other, so this is probably like one of the most feature rich FDM printers. Like if you just had endless amount of money and you only wanted something that was like a souped up Ender 3 or a Neptune 4 Plus, basically, this would do the job for 20 times the price.
Sure.
But like, hey, it's like, so, and again, we're seeing a pattern. Like, what do you get at that industrial level when you are throwing all the money? Alex Shiver, that's a lot of heresy boxes. It really is a lot of heresy boxes. If we were stuck using these printers, nobody would be saying 3D printing is the way to save money from GW. It would, that conversation would not be anywhere near each other.
It's true.
Gosh,
it's benchy time.
Yeah, one of the, and like this is the craziest, absolutely. Now they are offering this for like labs that are doing prototyping of like consumer grade products, automotive parts, that sort of thing is kind of their target here. Like this is for like teams that are doing R&D for production line material, so that you can print prototypes at very high quality and that sort of thing is who they're marketing for this. Another expensive printer from a brand I didn't expect to enter this space is actually less expensive, but it is the Dremel. Dremel, the tool company, makes 3D printers.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't expect this. This is actually the one I stumbled upon that inspired me to do this episode, because their printers start at like $2,000, which is on the pricier side of things, but still some of the higher end hobby printers are hitting prices similar to that.
Sure.
The printer that they were showing off at like Maker Faire that kind of inspired this episode, was like a new one they're having that's $5,000 that's got Clipper and XY printing along with like a ton of these like really awesome quality of life features. And Dremel is targeting the education market, like schools and libraries, where it kind of makes sense because you want these to be super reliable if kids and teachers and classes where you need to know that the 3D printer is going to be able to 3D print the part again and again and again for a bunch of students, and where a hobby level printer that you have to tweak on or occasionally problem solve with or you have to treat gently doesn't work. So you need something that's built like a tank and will just reliably spit out the parts again and again and again and again and again. So the cool thing about the Dremel that makes it a little bit different than other printers is it is climate controlled in its interior so that you actually load the filament inside the printer instead of outside the printer. And so it can keep the filament from going brittle over time, like it does with you just like hang a printer filament print. That's so if you ever wondered why FDM come vacuum sealed, it's because the second you open it up, you put a timing clock. Old filament, you can still use it, but like sometimes they get brittle, sometimes they get old, sometimes they gather moisture, all sorts of things that make them print less effectively. Right out of the package is the best time to use the filament. So I really should just use my FDM printer a lot more often because I do hate changing out because my filament broke while it was hanging there because I haven't used it in a while. So this solves some of those problems. Both their new printer and their old. Super highly accurate, very clean prints, very fast printing, but this isn't pushing boundaries. This isn't going like super Voron speeds. It's all about reliability and ease of use. So these super expensive printers are providing is idiot-proof printing, reliable printing, ease of use, parts that are going to last a very long time and not break down. And that's what they're offering with this. Also, it has like all the features. It has like the internal camera. It's got the heated build plate. It's got the ejectable cartridge build plate so that you can quickly swap them and then flex them to get your part off. It's got remote printing so that several different computers can send 3D files to this printer and queue them up. You know, it's meant for like to be like there's one or two or three of these in a classroom with a whole bunch of computers, and like
Me Too blasted some site which says challenge accepted. They should send me one. Yes, I want one too to see if it's really idiot proof.
Yeah. So that's what you're getting for your money here. It's like reliability as service and ease of use and designed for a very demanding environment, right?
Sure.
But you know, that's not flexing enough, is it? Like these are printers that like the hobby printers will still perform. Like the Formlabs one prints at 30 microns, which is impressive, but we were just talking about 20 micron printers over on the Saturn 12K, right?
Sure.
And like at like a lot less price. Like the Saturn Ultimate was like $500 USD.
Yep.
So super affordable printers in comparison to those. But what if we want to do something special?
The 12,000 and 6,500 weren't special.
No, that was just like a printer with all the bells and whistles, all the quality of life features you could throw at it, and printing on any material.
I'm hesitating to ask what you mean by special now, but what do you mean by special?
I mean, a 3D printer you can print yourself on.
Come again?
Like the Trunksy Viejo. It's a large-scale 3D printer, FDM printer, with a build volume of 1,000 by 1,000 by 1,600 millimeters.
Lord.
They market this by having one of their devs sitting inside the chamber cross-leg. It's a Core XY printer at that, so it's going to be very accurate printing, super high quality on the parts. It comes with wheels, so you can move it around your gigantic maker space.
Wow. Like, I'm nervous because I don't know if I've mentioned this recently, but back in the day, my Mega S, it's so big that its motion actually can create problems for the print. And I worry about something like this being so big. Like, I hope the stabilization's good on it because, man, that could be... Like something this big could actually cause your floor to bounce, for instance. So like, I hope it's accounting for that.
Last the same page says, First, yes, they absolutely are. That's kind of what Clipper does. The software that they're adding to that Dremel printer
Mm-hmm.
is it's one of those velocity prediction options. So that remember I talked about how you improve the speeds of these printers, where the movement of the printer is becoming a problem just because physics at that
Yeah.
speed becomes
Yeah.
a problem with accuracy. So yeah, that's a problem that people have now begun to solve.
Good, because like I said, it means that I can't use my whole build volume on my Mega S because it creates too much motion.
Yeah. Blasted Samaphage talks about the housing market the way it is. It may be cheaper to buy a 3D printer that can print a house. I don't have one of those queued up, but they exist.
They do exist. I actually
Mm-hmm.
have seen a cement pump
Mm-hmm.
3D printer that does layered cement and that cures as it's moving around the thing and it just goes on the next layer. It's amazing. It looks pretty cool too.
So I mean, you remember like some of the people that have like been 3D printing some of like Loot Studios miniatures at life size?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that with this printer without having to print it in chunks.
Yeah, yeah. That RNE Studio, they did a life-size Dark Elf.
That would be wonderful.
It was amazing.
And I'm kind of like, as a marketing person working for OPR, I'm kind of like, can I get one of these and print the gator? We would have to print that one in parts because it's 10 feet tall. But what if we had a life-size gator? That would be great. Just hauling around conventions.
Do the life-sized Sand Tyrant thing coming out of the thing.
And the price for this one is absolutely a bargain at $3,600.
Nice.
You can get $50 off right now with the coupon 50 off now.
Nice. I'm still not sure. I don't know. I would be very hesitant to buy something big, and not to mention, like, how much filament does it use? Does it use standard filament?
Yes, it uses all the filament. It does use the standard filament. You are just using you actually can buy FDM at larger diameters.
Sure, I'm sure, since it's for these large rolls anyway, right?
Yeah. So you would want to get like a bigger nozzle and print at a larger diameter. Ironically, printing at larger diameters does not necessarily mean that you lose a ton of quality on models, especially once they are of a certain size. So like your average terrain, it's actually better for you to get a bigger nozzle straight off the bat than to use these 0.4 nozzles that come with the printers. Like get a 0.6 and then up your print speed significantly. While you do that, you basically cut your print speed in half, and you lose very little detail when you're printing terrain, almost no detail, because the detail you get is mostly from the movement of the machine, not the thickness of the dot. The thickness of the dot is just the minimum size it prints. And most things are, as long as your model is bigger than the 0.6 millimeters of that nozzle, you're not losing a ton of detail. Like if you're printing miniatures, if you're trying to FDM print miniatures, first, good on you for going for it. I do not recommend that to anybody. That is kind of like a sport. It's showing off. It can be done. People do it very well. You would not want to do that. You would actually want to get a smaller nozzle, like a 0.2, to do that. And it's very slow printing because at that point in time, you are printing parts that are smaller than the nozzle. But if you're 3D printing any terrain at all, like as soon as it's like an inch or bigger at your thickest chunk, or even less than that, like just like a millimeter or bigger at its thickest point, just go and print with the big nozzle.
Right. That's a really big printer. I'm intimidated.
So there's, but hey, we're talking about big printers for FDM. What if I do want to print in resin and I want to print big?
Big?
What if I think that, hey, Neptune 4 Max, I want a printer that big, but resin.
Yeah.
I want to be able to print a castle, 28 millimeter scale castle in one go in resin.
Okay.
You can do that with
that better not be suspended. Like, how's that going to work?
with the Centrix 3D LC Magna Large Volume LCD 3D printer with a print volume of 510 by 280 by 350 millimeters. This is larger than your Ender 3 print bed by a bunch. It's basically two Ender 3s sitting side by side, going at it, and a little bit bigger than that.
Roberto asking if this is but wait,
yes,
it seems to be.
It's still. I still got more after this.
C Catla did mention that the Icon cement printers are about $350,000. By the way, in case anybody needs to pick up a cement printer.
Oh, I am kind of running out of printers actually. This might. I think I have one more after this, or maybe I have two more after this. But this is the biggest purchasable resin printer without having to call somebody for a quote that I could find on the market. It is $21,000 But don't worry, you can get it in 2 days with shipping, with rest
James
shipping.
says, hey, they have them in stock. Yeah. Yeah, get right on that.
Catless saying the Galaxy is 400 by 200 by 400. That's pretty close to this. It's still not as big as this. And I bet it cost a lot less than $21,000.
Yeah.
This is meant for like rapid prototyping or very small yield mass manufacturing. It also only has a 4K screen on here, so it's actually probably like 50 micron or less in detail.
So like great at all.
Yeah, it'll still be better
for
than
$21,000. Really?
Yeah, I know, right? This seems to be a little bit of an older printer, but it's just I was just looking for biggest I could find in resin.
Sure.
So that's still better than FDM is capable of.
Sure. I'm curious. C. Catla did mention an FDM printer called the Pantheon.
Oh, I'll have to look that one. It's not on my list. I'm sorry, but if you can tell us more about the Pantheon. I do have one more printer here. It's an FDM printer.
Okay.
It's like that big printer I mentioned earlier. What if you wanted that printer, but with all those bells and whistles that we talked about before?
You're talking about the big one we can sit in?
Yeah.
So this is a deluxe sittable size printer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm expecting a really, really big price tag then.
The CreateBot F1000 industrial, affordable, reliable, large-scale professional 3D printer. For $30, it's on sale right now for $35,000.
I have seen those in the background of videos, and they are huge.
They are massive. They are printing, like in the demo, they're printing 2 car seats side by side.
Yikes.
It's capable of all the features. It's got climate control. It's got multi-filament material. I won't even say filament. It's got multi-material printing. It's a Core XY design. It has got an absolute massive build volume of, I can't find it, but like the things. Okay, 990 millimeters tall build volume, capable of 0.1 precision. So 100 microns at speeds of 200 millimeters a second, which is pretty impressive for 3D printing speed.
Yeah.
That's about 4 times the default print of a Neptune. You could basically print things that you could sit in. Okay, if you're using the single extruder, it's also capable of dual extruding. So not just multi-material where it changes the material, but it can print 2 materials simultaneously at a single time using 2 extruders.
Nice.
Of course, it's got auto leveling, heated build plate. It's got every feature you could ever imagine for these things.
For the low price of $35,000.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. This printer, you know how like it's kind of a bargain because you if you watch Wormwood and you see those really awesome gaming furniture stuff, you could print your gaming furniture, and at the upper end of those prices, like the second you printed your 3rd Wormwood gaming table, you'd paid for the printer.
You'd be all set up. Nice.
Yeah, like like the epic like throne that you could get for your game master off this thing would be awesome. Like forget like life-size miniatures. Like this is capable of that super fine detail, very fast speeds, and gigantic print volume with all the quality of life features with the dissolvable supports and everything. Like you just imagine anything in shape at humongous sizes and have it. So
I could print my Loot Studios giant castle on a turtle. Have you seen that many? It's so cool.
you could go into terrain, terrain forge, and like map out an entire dungeon STL, and then print that entire dungeon 1-to-1 size for that 28mm scale, and just slap it down at one giant slab on your game table.
Yep. That would be crazy. Herberto says only your mama is bigger than this printer.
Nice. I do not want to laugh at your mama jokes. Lava Bing, you could print custom cases for your army. Absolutely. You could 3D print the shelves you keep your books on.
Can finally print a fig that they could paint eyes on. That might win the comments right there.
Yeah. Yes. This one's kind of like I don't know that it gets much better than this, but I could not find prices when I went higher than this. But there's if you want to go even bigger, let's say you want to print 4 meters by 7 meters by 8 meters.
Okay.
In print size. I'm talking you could print small cars.
A UFO.
The entire wormwood table at once with the chairs.
Sure.
At once. There's no pricing on this one because it is you have to call and have them quoted for your business.
Oh boy.
The large scale Scandinavia print center. It is a articulated robot arm that is capable of any material or tool head you want on a conveyor belt in the climate controlled room that is bigger than my game room.
Yikes. Okay. That's a little excessive.
It is able to manufacture using welded steel. So you could 3D print in steel with this thing.
You're being asked if it's made to order or is it already in stock? Can
they have to come make it for you on site.
Kind of figured that would be the case.
Yeah. I do not have a clue as to how much it costs because I would have to call them and ask. And also, it's in Scandinavia, so that would be a long distance phone call.
Sure. Well, and on top of that, I would hate to give someone the feeling that they were getting a sales lead and then be like, they were just curious by...
I mean, like, I would have to, like, it's amazing what I can get people to tell me when I tell them I'm calling on behalf of, like, a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Like, the people writing research. The press. The marketing department lights up and just go, hey, here's all the details.
CCAT, let's guess, in 1.5 million.
I would say that might not be... that might not be outrageous. It might be more.
And that the robot itself, just by itself, costs about 150,000.
I've seen that robot. My old school had one. Then we used it to train. We used it to train their students on how to do robotics.
I did want to circle back to something in the comments earlier. Blasted Semiflange mentioned building snakes, new snake army. I was curious about it, but then went on to talk about what was our general feel about assembly kits, like where you get a whole bunch of pieces and build out the modular army builders. So like,
okay.
Yeah. And I mean, so many of the Patreons now, that's what you get, right? And I think they're great. I do think I have a much higher love of the company that also does a couple pre-builds for you, though. Yeah. Because sometimes you just got to go. You just got to get that printed, and like taking it into the a mesh mixer or something like that and building it out. To me, it's very time consuming, and I'll do it if I'm like making my personal like squad or whatever. But if I need to print 16 Serpent Warriors, I do not want to go through and customize every single one of them. Not usually. And I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I'm kind of with you on this. Like, I want the modular option. And especially if I'm going to be doing a lot of customization. And I really like how companies like Titan Forge and Artisan Guild do it, where all of the modular options are cross compatible with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like Titan Forge even goes so far as to make sure that if the mount saddle that they put on all of their rideable beasts works across every miniature they've ever made that mounts onto a model. So you
That's really
just have
cool.
to glue, like you can take a dwarf or a lizard man or whatever or a vampire and get the mount or the monster from that set and then put them on there, and that's
Right.
great. And also all the hand sockets are the same. They go a long way into making sure that if you want to combine your piece. And then there's like Puppets War, who like they only provide their minis in modular, and that's kind of their market. They really are just like wanting to build your giant bits box is kind
Right.
of the goal. Is like you can build infinite amounts of custom aliens or space marines or whatever because your bits box is just overflowing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I do appreciate though that they oftentimes like with their not, I can't believe it's not Tyranids. Oftentimes are just in a couple pieces. So
mhm.
there's like 3 or 4 and you can mix them and match them. And it's still a lot of modularity, but it doesn't take like I have a couple kits. So is it Epics and stuff? Epic and stuff. There's a couple of them that have like just so many pieces.
On the flip side, their strikers are just like in every tiny little piece imaginable. So, like with this Night Strikers that I printed off for my Grimdark Future Firefight Prime Brothers list,
Mm-hmm.
like I had to glue the gun to his holster, the knife to his belt, the pouch, each pouch separately to the belt.
And see, I would have
The
gone through and
hands and the arms are separate. So, like,
I would have gone
what?
in and assembled that in a mesh mixer or iCreate or something and like put it together so that it was less likely that I was going to break it later. I know it makes it sometimes harder to paint, but I usually prefer it that way.
Which
Yes,
is where I got my little Skittle box
I
filled
saw
with
your Skittle
parts.
boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, so like this little Skittle box is like I was just getting frustrated trying to predict which arm I needed with which pose. So I just printed 10 or 8 to 10 copies of every single arm, both a left and a right version.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like a dozen or two knives and belt pouches and grenades and gun barrels, because they have like some of their kits have like interchangeable gun barrels so that you can
Sure.
like, and like a whole bunch of the heads and shoulder pads. And I do kind of wish, I hate to say it, but I kind of wish, especially with those, like I do sometimes want to customize my heroes or my characters. Like if I'm printing like a D&D character, and I'm
Yep.
kind of wanting to get a D&D game or probably a Tales of the Valiant game going pretty
Mm-hmm.
soon.
Yep.
Um, and I'm itching to get behind the DM screen again. But when I want 12, when I just need these in a few different poses, I just want it in one option, which is why like I'm glad that that's how we do it over at OPR, where we have the module pieces. You can print them out in pieces, and then we also with every release have a bunch of them available in poses, 5 different poses that are just ready to go
Nice. Nice.
and pre-supported.
Blasted Semiflange says went with 12 heads, 4 torsos, and 5 tails. Is this your kit? Blasted Semiflange? Like, you know me, I
Ooh.
like snakes. My long bears, as what you sometimes call them. I like a snake set. So if this is a new snake set I don't know about, I need to know about. And is it available right now? That's what I
Yeah,
need to know. Anyway,
I like snacks.
I like snakes.
Yes, yes. Tell us about the sticks. Love being, speaking of post printing assembly, do the glossy finishes from newer high DPL resin printers result in any assembly issues? All resins are glue resistant just because of the nature of resin. The primers are fine, but you will often be a little bit frustrated with any gluing, even on the old Mars prints. So it is worth getting a sanding block and just lightly sanding where the connection points to just give some texture for those glues to grip onto. I don't know that the new printers will be any worse than the old printers, because the old original Marses and original Anycubic Photons were already bad
Yeah.
it's you absolutely can glue it, but trust me, a couple of seconds of just a couple of passes with a nail file or a sanding bar or a sanding stick, or just a little bit of sanding on the feet before you glue it in the base, a little bit of sanding on that wrist joint before you, like, it doesn't even, you don't have to do much. You just have to scuff it up a little bit to give it just a little bit of texture. It takes like a second, and then boom, you will get an instant stronghold for that super glue that will make a much better, much less frustrating experience.
Yeah. And I have been snake teased because they're not available yet. Last is something Flinch says. So I will eagerly await your snakes, sir.
Yeah, drop us an email when
Yeah.
drop us an email or a message on Facebook or whatever. Blessed Samafledge, we'd love to shout out your new release when it comes out because Snake Soldiers sound awesome.
Speaking of shout outs, you got any? I have a couple.
Well, before we do that, real quick, Alberto has a great point, and I do stick by this. I use it every time. Get CA. CA is cyanoacrylate. It's the chemical name for super glue. You can get accelerators that make it cure instantly, and it will make your life 1,000 times less frustrating.
Is that like Zip Kicker or whatever? For
yeah, Zip Kicker is a brand that's hobby stores sell.
Yeah.
I forget the brand I use, and I can't find it. Usually I have it like right here at my desk because my little paint area is right here.
You can do the baking soda thing, but it's messy. And
yeah, don't get like it's literally $5 for a bottle that's going to last you several months. Any hobby store, you're just looking for super glue accelerator. So we're talking about shout outs. What do you got to shout out, Kristen?
Well, obviously we talked about exteriors from Cast and Play, the essentials, Train Essentials exteriors. But I did also want to throw out that Mini Monster Mayhem, who I like and people know me, I talk about it, is joining the dollar tier club, and there will be a dollar tier for their stuff. So, and I think this is an interesting trend, and I'm actually kind of excited about it, where we're seeing more and more of these Patreons and stuff having that little teeny like starter tier where you get their one mini. I think it's actually for theirs it's going to be two. I want to say it's like jellyfish or something on this next one, but
interesting.
Just I think it's a cool trend, and I see more and more Patreons that are doing that, and tribes that are doing that. And I like it. I think it's a good way to go, and I'm very, very excited for it.
And over at OPR, we don't have a dollar tier, but we did start the free tier that gets you 2 models every month. But
that's even better, right? To get people into it, right?
Ooh, I love this lingering mass, whatever the heck it is, that they released from last month's set.
Is that from my mini? Yeah,
the Swarm.
Yeah, I love that set so much, so good.
A big old angry beetle.
Big old angry beetles. Speaking of other shout outs, if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons with me,
I want to play Dungeons and Dragons with you, Kristen.
I'm doing one shots over via TikTok. If you want to go look up 7th Mastery there, when I get to 7,000 followers, I am doing one shots with people who are following me. So there's a whole pin post in my bio about how to do that. So
go check that out. Kristen is an amazing person to play with and a wonderful dungeon master. You want to play with Kristen.
Oh, thank you. And I do want to run D&D for like the entire planet. So,
Yeah, I mean, you already managed to do the biggest D&D game ever.
It's true. I do.
Asterisk.
I am, yes, one of the many world record holders, but I technically hold a world record for largest D&D game now. So that's cool. Right. But yeah. Anything else you got?
No, that's all the shout outs I've got this time. If you are going to go to Gen Con, we hope to see y'all there.
Absolutely.
And other than that, like, that's all I've got. If you want what's up?
Tales of the Valiant Alpha is available. You can either buy it for $9.99, or if you back the Kickstarter, you can go get a coupon for it.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how to download it because I didn't fill out the form with my backer kit, so I don't have an account with them yet. I don't think. Yeah. So I don't know how I'm going to get it.
All you have to do is register your account with the same backer email. And you'll get the coupon should be automatically generated. Unfortunately for me, I use a different email for their account, so I've got.
You know what's in the alpha? Like
4 classes. There are 4 classes.
Only 4 classes.
There's only 4 in it, yeah. But it does have the core engine, and they're still like actually taking feedback on naming stuff because I think they're going to rename like spell levels, spell rings, and just little things like that. But yeah, mostly quality of life adjustments and a little bit of power balancing.
Tales of the Valiant is using Orc, right?
They initially said that, but I actually think because after that statement was made that the Creative Commons came out, I'm not sure what we're going to see. Okay. So I think that was originally stated. I don't know if they're standing by that or not, but I will try to get clear on that. we'll obviously be talking to them at Gen Con because both of us are going to be doing that playtest.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most.
I keep telling people, if you can't find me at Gen Con, just look for the Tales of Valiant stuff. I'll probably be there within an hour or two.
All right, everyone. If you want to support the show, you can do so by subscribing, liking, commenting, and more importantly, giving us a review on iTunes or Spotify. That helps spread the word and lets them know to show our podcast to more people. And the more people that see the show, the better. If you want to find more of our stuff, you can do so over at printyourgames.com. We're on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter. I guess we're just on those two socials. And we're also on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, over at youtube.com/Param. And until next time, I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
I'm Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery. And don't forget to use your screen protector.